Hi, I want to take a few minutes to encourage a sister who is in so much pain, who is hurting a whole lot, who has been doing a lot of crying lately. I want to encourage you and speak to your heart from the Word of God, from the book of John chapter 11 verse 20. It says, "Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him, but Mary sat still in the house." Let me paint you the picture. You see, Martha and Mary are two sisters who had just lost a brother. They were mourning, they were crying, they were hurting, they were in so much pain. They had called out to Jesus, the one person who could have healed their sick brother and not let them feel so much pain in the first place. But Jesus didn't show up. And now their brother was dead. He had been buried for 4 days. The situation looked hopeless and helpless. And then at this point, Jesus shows up. The two sisters have the same thing in mind. They are both thinking, when I meet Jesus, I'm going to say to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died." In the very next verse, we see Martha say these words to Jesus when she met him. And later on in verse 32, when Mary met Jesus, she said the exact same words. But the interesting thing is, when both of them heard that Jesus was coming, while Martha ran out to meet Jesus, Mary sat still. And for me, that's a big deal. Let me remind you, it was this Mary who anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped it with her hair. It was this Mary who sat at Jesus' feet while Martha was busy with activity. Thing is, Mary had spent enough time with Jesus to know there is something about stillness that is closely associated with seeing and experiencing the manifestation of God's personality and power. God was speaking in the book of Psalm chapter 46 verse 10, and he said, "Be still and know that I am God." And he's still saying that today. In the book of Exodus chapter 14 verse 13, Moses and the Israelites were between a rock and a hard place, the Red Sea before them, the chariots of Egypt behind them. It was an impossible situation, but Moses said something to them. He said, "Fear not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." And we know the story. God parted the Red Sea for them. You see, she sat still, and our dear Mary, who had been expecting just the healing for her sick brother, received a resurrection. Jesus brought her brother back to life. So I encourage you today, sis, listen, there is no limit to what God can do if you would just sit still, if you would just stand still, if you would just be still. Being still connotes trusting in God. It connotes resting in his love for you, knowing you don't have to struggle or fight for him to come true for you with what's the very best for you. So in the midst of all the tears, in the midst of all the hurt and pain, all the crying and all the unpleasantness, right now, I encourage you to be still. Be still and see God come true for you.